I'm Wolfgang Leidhold, and I would like to talk to you about the history of experience. The history of experience is the title of the project and the book that I'm dealing with at the moment. And today it's part one. In part one, I want to present a little introduction and present what the whole story is all about. First of all, I just take the title of the project and talk to you about experience first. That will be followed by some remarks on history, which actually are two separate parts. One talking about personal history, one about general history. The general part will be in the next part of this series of videos. So let's get back to the topic of experience. Experience is something, together with practice, a method that gets us in touch with reality. But while practice, doing things, is something that we don't do all the time, experience is something that enshrouds us like a cloud all over the day. So we are constantly living in a kind of stream of experience unless we are unconscious or deep sleeping. While the stream of experience is something like a permanent condition, not everything that is present in that permanent condition becomes present to us. So just to take an example, when we are talking to each other here in the classroom, everybody is breathing, but you don't notice. So this is part of our getting in touch with reality, because when you stop breathing, you just lose your consciousness after a while. But you don't notice it all the time. So there are many things in the horizon of our experience that we don't notice all over and every day, in every minute. But suddenly, something that has been present all the time gets into the focus of our awareness, and that is where the story starts that I want to talk about with regard to the history of experience. And this is the story of the stargazer. The story of the stargazer is something about personal history, and it has something to do with me. It takes us back to a moment when I was about 12 years old. So here we are with the aspect of personal history and its connection to experience. When I was 12 years of age, one certain day, I was sitting at the window at my parents' home, looking southwest, roughly. This is the view you would have when it would be daylight. So what we have here is the ending of our garden, a little slope. Behind that there is an orchard, and in the distance there's a beech grove that covers part of the horizon. At that very moment, it must have been about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and I was sitting there at the dark kitchen, close to the window, with the new binoculars of my father's in my hand. I still have that device, because in my family nothing gets thrown away. So it was this device, and it was a clue to find out what kind of date that was. Because I talked to the company who had produced this, and they told me they did it from 1962 onwards. So at that time, I was about 12 years old. So you see me here in a little depiction as I'm sort of sitting or standing at the window and looking first to the Pleiades, a constellation of stars that were more or less due west at that moment. In the next moment, I was moving from the Pleiades to Orion to find out about the Orion Nebula, which I could for the first time see with this device, because with the, normal eye, it's just a little shade. So I was looking like this. At that very moment, something very strange happened. In the 1 second, I was focused on the stars because I was a very enthusiastic stargazer. And in the next moment, my focus reversed to myself, which I found pretty strange. I was interested in the stars, and at the same time, like out of a sudden shift, something was there was there that I didn't want to focus on. It was me. That shocked me pretty much, and I went to my parents, who were sitting next door reading the newspapers, and said, "Oh, Mama, something very strange happened to me." And she said, "Oh, that is not really strange. That happens to people every once in a while about your age. It happened to me when I was about 12 and I was milking the family's goat, Rosalinda." I still recall Rosalinda, but funny name for a goat. And my father joined in and said, "Yeah, very typical. To me it happened when I was doing math homework." He was a very good mathematician. And so for me that meant, okay, that wasn't so strange anyway. And it became sort of part of a normal life. But still, the happening, the event, was somewhat strange, because in the one moment I was lost, gazing at the stars, lost in sensation, and looking outside. At the other moment, I was looking inside and becoming aware of myself. And that was called self-awareness by my mother. I didn't understand whatever that was at the time. You know, it's something like the mental eye. You see something not outside but inside yourself. And actually, what was even more strange was that I had two experiences at the same time. One looking outside because the stars were not gone at that moment, and one realizing that I was there and I was part, sort of a cosmological whole. You know, everything was connected by the binocular and my look. And nevertheless, there were the stars, very, very far away. And down here in the dark kitchen, it was me. And interesting enough, that could happen to anybody in any other situation. It doesn't matter if you're looking at the stars, or you're milking the goat, or you're doing math homework. So the content is not relevant. So then, what is relevant is the way we get in touch with reality. You know, looking either outside, what we call sensation, or looking inside, what we call self-awareness. And this kind of shift, this kind of change in the structure of experience, that's what is at the center of the history of experience as my project. So I'm not looking at the history of the content of experience through the ages, but I'm looking on the way how it changes. More details you will find in my forthcoming book, The History of Experience. And what is coming next is the second part, where I talk about the tree of knowledge, but this will be in our next take. Thank you.